Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the weekly Q&A with Bro.Diallo. Today is October 6th. God damn, October 6th. Wow, time, man. Anyway, thank you for being with us. This is questions, comments, criticisms. We do this every Wednesday. Next week, I got some special guests. Some local progressive artists that are going to be on the Q&A with us. So I look forward to that because it's just been me for a while. It's been kind of hard to line up guests. But anyway, we're back in the mix. I appreciate everyone. The format is y'all ask questions. If I have the answer, I will eagerly share it. If I don't know the answers, then we can suss it out or we'll come back next time. You know, simple format, simple Q&A. I enjoy doing this and engaging with the audience. And so we can get started just as soon as we have some questions in the feed. So if you have questions, curiosities, politics, history, ideology, cults, religion, labor class issues, some of y'all, you know, or personal issues, romance, some advice from an old head, some old school wisdom. You hear? It's the Q&A. Jump in, kick in, and we can chop it up. All right, we got our first Singleton. What's that? Chaheem Singleton? All right. If the vaccinated can catch and spread the virus, why haven't they lost their jobs too? I don't know. Let me know if the music is bothering you guys. Let me know if the music is bothering you so that I can kill it or reduce it or whatever. We got our first question, so let's get into it, related to COVID, you know. But here, let me answer that. Let me just kill the music because I don't know. If it's bothering, because I don't know if it's bothering folks or not. But now, anyway, let me just give a little background. No, it's good. Okay, let's bring it back. Bring that beat back. Set the tone. Get y'all in the mood. Anyway, the reason that vaccinated people haven't lost their job is because it is mandated that healthcare workers are vaccinated because the vaccine has been proven to reduce the spread. We're all dealing with percentages and chances. No one, from the vaccine corporations to the public health experts to the CDC, have promoted or said that the vaccine is absolute or a total cure. Such things don't exist in science or nature. But the vaccinated, what the vaccine grants you is a lower probability of contracting, spreading, and developing the worst symptoms of COVID-19, SARS, the respiratory infection. So if you are in compliance, the basic question is because the vaccinated people are in compliance. And what the hospital asks is saying that, can a person who wears a mask or gloves, or wears, if you've ever been in a hospital, the protective suits, if a person who wears that, a person who takes literally every precaution, can still contract and spread a virus or a bacteria or some type of infection. So all the hospital does is say, we want to be on record as taking every available precaution. And if you do not take every available precaution, then we are going to sanction you. And it's not, many places are saying you could either take the vaccine, for whatever reasons that you don't take the vaccine, if you will have to submit to testing twice a week. And so people are like, I don't want to take tests. I don't want to get the vaccines. I don't want to follow any of the protocols. I worked in healthcare for 13 years. I worked at several facilities. I worked at level 1 trauma centers. I worked at youth detention centers. I worked at psychiatric hospitals. I worked at standard St. John's, Kings County Hospital, state-run, proprietary hospitals. I worked throughout the gambit of healthcare. And every hospital had its own protocols and its own requirements for you to work on the clinical floor. So the basic reason is the hospitals want to be on record for healthcare reasons, but even more importantly than healthcare reasons, for liability reasons to the bottom line of the hospital. They want to be able to say all of our staff, all of our workers are exercising all available tools, from the vaccine to social distancing to sterilization to hand washing. So you say, well, people who wash their hands can spread disease to sick patients as easily as people who don't wash their hands. So why are they firing people who refuse to wash their hands? Because it's a reduction. And you can argue the numbers. Oh no, people with vaccine can spread. Yes, people with vaccine can spread. People with the mask can spread. People who wash their hands can spread. People who social distance can spread. People who wear seatbelts can die in car accidents, and people who don't wear seatbelts can die in car accidents. But what you want to do is employ what tools are available to you. Be imperfect tools. Even an imperfect tool is arguably better than no tool in such a condition. And another step is, there is a pandemic. There is a worldwide pandemic. And so when you're under a state of urgency or state of emergency, the rules are different, or a lot of times the rules are there in the background and not enforced until such a thing happens. So it's always been the right of the employees. And for decades now, employers have been taking people's urine, taking blood and hair samples from their workers, and workers have been having their biology or their bodies invaded in order to keep their job for decades. And people are just waking up to the fact that your employer has a right to examine you, to know your status in terms of your biological status, and impose things like that. That's been going on. This is nothing new. They're not writing new laws to be able to mandate vaccines. That's nothing new. And it's just curious to me why people are all of a sudden coming out of the woodwork opposing policies that have been here and implemented. The reason why is because the whole shit, all these public health policies have been politicized. Public health is supposed to be neutral. Certain things like public health, infrastructure, those things aren't supposed to be Democrat or Republican, right wing or left wing. They're supposed to be politically neutral. The CDC isn't even a government agency because it's supposed to be independent of politics. But because of various reasons we can get into if y'all want to, this whole pandemic, the disease and the remedies and the public health policies have all been politicized, and people are falling down on one side or the other, regardless of what the science says. And with the advent of social media, people can seek out and find whatever they believe. If you want to, whatever you want to believe about the virus and its spread and its impact and the solutions to the virus or the pandemic, you can find an online space that will validate all of your views and what you believe. So it's a sticky time, but that's the reason why. It's the same reason why people who can die without a seatbelt and you can die with the seatbelt, but still you get a ticket if you don't wear your seatbelt, for mitigating costs, mitigating conditions. ADOS should be our position. Well, then go fucking do that then. Not for us, for you. ADOS is not a viable stance. It is not a viable status. Trying to organize based on your U.S. citizenship as a black person, African descendant of slavery, to start and end your historical timeline in slavery is pretty much what the European wanted to do. The European, when they brought our ancestors here, wanted to create a psychological and cultural condition where Africans did not look beyond slavery for our history, did not look beyond slavery for our status and standing, did not look beyond slavery for our ambitions and our goals and our values. They wanted our history to begin in slavery and move forward, because slavery, the state of slavery, was a status imposed on us and created for us by our oppressors, which the oppressor has redefined from slavery to second-class citizenship to full citizenship. That has been something imposed on us by our oppressor. So as long as Africans are working within the limited box of defining ourselves according to the condition of slavery and the history of slavery and the progression of slavery in the United States, as long as we're fucking defining ourselves as descendants of slaves, if that is our identity, if that is our political rally point, if that is our point of unity, then we are fucking doomed. I'm not going to unite with you because both of our ancestors were slaves. That's not a fucking rally cry. That's not, and there's no other people. You would never find Jews trying to say, well, there are a certain amount of Jews who didn't go through the Holocaust. Certain population of Jews, like Jews in America, Jews in Russia, in the Soviet Union, Jews outside of Central and Western Europe did not go through the Holocaust, because the German Jews in Krakow, Poland, Jews in France, Jews in, of course, Germany, they all went through the Holocaust. So you can look at the vast majority of Jews who were subject to the gas chambers and Nazi laws can be in a relatively limited defined area, where you have Jews in Latin America, Jews in Africa, the Falasha or Beta Israel Jews. You have Jews all over the world. But there's this particular population of Jews who went through this Holocaust. And they were like, well, we are the Jewish descendants of the Holocaust. But when you see they're trying to rebuild and reassert themselves, they bring Jews from all over the world. Literally, I could convert to Judaism, because nobody defines themselves according to their biggest tragedy. You know, you don't have people, Cambodia had famines, Russia, the Soviet Union had famines, Ethiopia. You don't have Ethiopian descendants of famine. You know, or women, you just don't fucking define yourself according to your tragedy. Most people, even Europeans in the United States, they were like, well, we are descendants from Europeans and the Greeks and the Romans. If you look at European architecture and the European Senate and European democracy goes all the way back to Greece and Rome. The Europeans have all kind of tragedies throughout their fucking history, but they don't define themselves by the tragedy. They define themselves according to their fucking triumphs. Just for psychological purposes. Just when you're going to tell your child, well, you are a descendant of a slave, and that is your rally point. And when you find another person in the shackles and y'all bound by the shackles. No, we are descendants of freedom fighters. I would even get with that shit. African descendants of freedom fighters, African descendants of rebels, African descendants of Africans. The fuck? That ADOS shit, and let me tell you something, it is prosperity politics. It's all about trying to secure the bag and get resources for the people at the top. The only thing they're doing, the ADOS leadership, is trying to rally all you Negroes around reparations. And then the reparations that they're negotiating is going to be paid out to the Negroes at the top. And then they will trickle down the resources to the rest of y'all. So y'all about to fight. Y'all fighting for prosperity politics. And it's no different than prosperity gospel. It's a hustle. It's a scam. And it's a losing proposition. So I have no fucking connection to or no love for. And I have absolute hatred for ADOS. And another thing about the ADOS, the Black reparations movement did not start with fucking ADOS. You had N Cobra, And I know people that from the founding of NCORE, Samori Grace, Bill Grace from Kansas City, Missouri, one of my mentors, one of the founding members of the formal reparation movement, the brother that just passed here. Hey, his name escapes me. What's the brother that was over the Carruthers Center? His name escapes me. What's his name? Conrad, Dr. Conrad Roriel, the true founders of the Black reparation, the modern reparations movement in the United States, and all of the true reparations, people who fought for reparations were Pan-African. All of them. Every true reparations freedom fighter did not have hostility, rejection of their African identity, did not try to isolate Africans with U.S. citizenship from the rest of the African diaspora, did not have issues with other Africans from other parts of the diaspora striving for their own autonomy and liberation and coming here to build for themselves here in the United States, which fuck the borders of the United States. It's an empire that respects no sovereignty of any other country. So all that to say, and I'm glad Astonished 89, you shouldn't use your real name and you should cover your face. You should be ashamed of yourself. So how about you fuck off? And all ADOS people in the feeds or that follow me, all of you ADOS people, the people, the scammers at the top and the suckers at the bottom, fuck all of y'all. Y'all are anti-African. Y'all are just another Uncle Tom sellout secular cult that has emerged that I have no time for. Fuck off. Recenter. Let's all just breathe in through the nose, hold for 3 seconds, release through the mouth. All right, back to community. Kill the music. Okay, we're gonna kill the music now. Back and forth. Can't please nobody. I know it's good. All right. I don't know. Everybody going back. Kill the music. Love the music. I don't know, man. Listen in. Thank you for the Patreon contribution. I saw that. Temp NYC. More ADOS hate. ADOS is a dead end that will get African people nowhere. Yeah, but it will get some more fiat currency in the bag of more unscrupulous Negroes. It's prosperity politics. The worst kind of prosperity politics, because it's basically saying, listen, we are loyal, patriotic Americans. And if ADOS argument is saying black people in the United States with U.S. citizenship are loyal, patriotic Americans. And if we are given the money to fully integrate into the U.S. economy, we will fully embrace imperialism, capitalism, American hegemony, and Republican right-wing conservatism, all that shit. We're going to become, they truly want to be equal to the European, not just in access and opportunity. They want to be equal in the atrocities and oppression. They want to join the oppressor to become the oppressor, not just to avoid oppression. When we are back in control of the planet, what do you think our outlook on white people will be as soon as as far as treatment? Well, first of all, when we were in the control of the planet, I think white people will cease to exist. The white people are only a byproduct of white hegemony. Once white people lose their economic and military domination of the globe, and they're no longer able to impose their will on the masses of humanity, there will be no more white people. The people who walk around saying I'm white and I have white pride, they'll go back to saying I'm Scandinavian, I'm German, I'm they go back to that. White is the biggest fiction in the world. White people, the very concept of whiteness. There's no such thing as white culture or white anything. You have Scandinavian, you have Irish. So I think we can't really mistreat white people when white hegemony is dismantled, because there will be no more white people. And you're seeing that now as people oppress people around the world. Whenever they start to get freedom, you just, an example of that is like in South Africa. White people were walking around, strutting around with their whiteness in South Africa, and white only this and white only that. And then when African people started to break down apartheid, now, I'm Afrikaans, I'm Dutch, so white people run away from whiteness as soon as it doesn't serve them. So there will be no white people. As far as this, white people have always had this notion of vengeance, going back to slavery and colonization. If the people we've attacked get freedom, they're going to be bloodthirsty and seek revenge. That has never happened. It's never happened anywhere in the world. The time you see people taking up arms against white folks is to stop oppression. I haven't seen any historical examples of vengeance seeking. They said that happened in South Africa when blacks took over, the majority rule took over in South Africa. They were slaughtering white farmers. They weren't slaughtering white farmers because they were white. They were slaughtering white farmers is because black people got political freedoms or political rights, but they didn't get any of their resources back. So you can't be robbing me for centuries and then be like, okay, we're all equal now. You can't repress me for centuries and then don't give me any reparations. So there wasn't any land return. There were no resource return. And the corrupt members of the ANC got in there and just started a kleptocracy. So I think the treatment will be pretty much Europeans will have to learn how to live off their own labor and live off their own resources instead of exploiting the labor of the world and exploiting the resources of the world. So, but that's on them. It won't really be on the rest of the world. So that'll be interesting to see. But if anything, if Europeans are forced to live amongst themselves and work on their own resources, I mean, they spend so much time slaughtering each other, dark ages, the middle ages, you know. So, or I mean, literally the dark ages were created when Europe was cut off from outside resources. And the Renaissance of Europe was created when Europe regained access to other people's resources. So the Europeans might go through a dark ages, but I think ultimately the very concept, the notion of whiteness will dissolve. Listen to Phil, y'all. Please click on the like button and share this. Yes. It's shameful that the left supports this authoritarian reaction to, you ain't seen authoritarian. If COVID policies are your first taste of authoritarianism, bless your fucking heart. Real talk. If COVID-19 restrictions are your very first taste of authoritarian from repression from the government, bless your heart. You lived a good life up till now. These mandates aren't about health, but profits. Everything in the United States is about a profit. So yeah, everything's about profit. Were you anti-capitalist before the pandemic? Or did the pandemic wake you up to that fact? If it took the pandemic to wake you up to the fact that everything in the United States is about profit, then bless your heart, you lived a good life up till now. So count your blessings. Is it true that if you have fully recovered from COVID, that you pretty much receive the full power of the virus as opposed to getting the jab, which is not as potent? Yes, natural immunity is a thing. Natural immunity is a thing. So if you have contracted COVID-19, then you do have a level of natural immunity to the virus. And if you were able to recover without any long-term ill effects, then you're in a very good position. As far as it being better or worse than the inoculation, I don't know, because I did know prior to Pfizer and the other ones getting emergency approval, I knew of some people who contracted the virus, and some were asymptomatic and some were symptomatic. And they, just like some of the vaccinated people, did get reinfected. I knew a woman who had the virus, spent a short amount of time in the hospital. She got out and she went about her life thinking that she had natural immunity, and then she contracted it again, or whatever latent virus was in her system reasserted itself, and she got even sicker the second time around. She still survived, but I don't know about it being better than the jab, but it is documented, and even the people who advocate for the vaccination have to admit that if you've contracted the virus and you've survived and came out on the other side, got through all the symptoms, then you do have a level of natural immunity. So good for you. But as far as it being better than the inoculation or the shot, I don't know. Good question. Which is better? They would have to survey people who've had the shot and who've got the shot and break through versus people who had the virus and who has better outcomes. I'm not sure if that study was done. I haven't looked into it. What's up, James? What's up, bro? Got a new granddaddy here, everybody. Congratulations. Okay. The CDC is controlled by the pharmaceutical industry. If you say so. Thank you for answering the question. My pleasure. That's what I'm here to do. I hope it's an adequate answer. I think the science is corrupted and cloudy on the vax, but very little of the criticism is grounded in evidence and critical thinking. Too much nonsense poisoning the well. I agree with that. As far as the science being corrupted and cloudy, I don't think the science is corrupt and cloudy. I think the utilization of the science, corrupt science is not really a thing. Here's the thing about science. You have this thing called the scientific method, and you execute the scientific method. But what happens is certain research requires funding, and certain research gets funded while other research doesn't get funded, depending on who it is. But if you read and study most critics, people who, well, I'll give you a good example. Noam Chomsky, he worked at MIT, and he's worked in both the hard sciences as a linguist and the soft sciences as a historian in political science. And the hard sciences, he said, when young people come into the soft sciences, political science and economics, they said they're encouraged to have very rigid forms of thinking. When I went to school to study political science, I had to read what was canon. You know, I had to read Jean-Jacques Rousseau. You're not going to get a degree if you're not well versed in Rousseau and Calvinist thought and what's that other guy name? Hobbes. You know, you had to know about all these old white men. You had to be able to write long handwritten 5-page essays about what some old crazy white man said 500 years ago. But and if you deviate from that, if you challenge it, they'll tell you, well, wait to grad school to challenge it. But then you get to grad school and they be like, oh, wait till your PhD to challenge it. But here you just got to learn it, not challenge it. But he said, in the science, you are encouraged to be a renegade. You're encouraged to go against established norms in the sciences. He said probably the only arena of learning where you're encouraged to be a rebel, where you're encouraged to not accept canon, is in the sciences. If you really like, I know several like of trained researchers and scientists, and they are allowed to question things. They're allowed to doubt. It is encouraged. But what we confuse the scientific process and the scientific method with the scientific execution with scientific application. What happens is you have something like the internet, fiber optics, and all that, which is science. And it's a good thing. And we know how it works. We know how to communicate with each other. But what happens with that technology is it is turned over to the free market. And that's when it becomes corrupted. So our problem is capitalism. Our problem is privatization. Our problem is not science. If you're doing corrupt science, nobody's going to hire you. Nobody wants a corrupt science. Now, they want corrupt. They want it like, take for instance, global warming. They knew about global warming in the late 1800s. The fossil fuel industry and the major fossil fuel companies knew about global warming. They had the accurate science. But the companies, the corporation says we're going to repress the science. It wasn't bad science. It was repressed science. It wasn't corrupt science. It was corrupt business practices. The same thing with smoking. When they'd have a guy in a lab coat on a TV commercial, it's like, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. And when they were saying that smoking reduced asthma, when they said smoking is good for pregnant women because it calms their nerves and helps them to have more less painful pregnancy, that wasn't science. That was corporate capitalist marketing. So we get mad at the wrong shit, which happens all the fucking time. Even now when we talk, oh, I don't trust the government, I don't like the government. A lot of times it ain't the government that's fucking you over, it's the corporations. You know, that and you, like you said, the corporations control the government, but the people are like, I ain't voting. I'm not gonna fucking participate in civic life. I'm not gonna, engage with my aldermen because, their politics is corrupt. So that's why detailed analysis is so important. And everybody's anti-science, when your problem is capitalism, not fucking science. You should support science and embrace science, and you should reject capitalism taking control of the outcomes of science. But if you're a quote unquote corrupt scientist, you're not going to get anywhere in the scientific field, because if you are not following the scientific mechanism, and you got inaccurate numbers and inaccurate outcomes, what the fuck are you accomplishing? And science is a wide field. You talk about corrupt science in vaccines, and it really does no fucking good to service. So they want accurate science. But then your problem is not the science or inaccuracy of the science. Your problem is the intellectual property laws. And so when we should be doing away with these intellectual property laws, we get mad at the science. When intellectual property is not science, it's policy. It's political and economic policy. It's not science. So everybody's mad at science when science ain't done shit but do what science always does. And the moment you're doing corrupt science, you're not really doing science, because fundamental to science is accurate recording, observation, testing, record, observe, test. Then you come up with a hypothesis in connection to your observation and what you can record and what can be tested, what can be what can be demonstrated, what can't be reproduced within conditions. That's all science is. The problem is the politicization of science, not science itself. The problem is the capitalist exploitation and capitalist extraction. So we fighting against the wrong shit. As I observe, why does it seem as though everyone can see and understand why the Chinese are there in Africa, but Africans seemingly can't say no? What am I missing? Well, this it's kind of hard to compare like Africans' Black American disinterest or hostility towards Africa versus Chinese exploitation of Africa. But the bottom line is African people have been subjected to to almost 3 centuries of anti-African propaganda. That's a pretty easy thing to answer. Africans are by design made ignorant of our history, and we're made ignorant of Africa and the African continent. And a lot of times you have people in this country will have very limited interactions, because I know several people growing up. I had African immigrants. One of my best friends, Chet Kenyongi, he was a Kenyan Kikuyu. I had another friend, Maimuna Diatta, who came from Senegal. I had another young lady that worked for me, Yam. She came from the Sudan. And when you talk to Africans who are being honest, Nigerians, I know too many Nigerians to name. When they come here, if they're being honest, they say, some of the first things they tell us as we start to integrate and settle in the United States, figure out where we're going to live, whether we're going to go to school or work, is they tell us to stay away from Black Americans. Because just like when we turn on the TV and we see starving Africans and these ignorant savages in Africa, when they turn on the TV on the continent, they see gangsters and prostitutes and pimps. So our understanding of each other is filtered through our oppressors. And they want to keep Africans, the African diaspora. They don't just want Black people in America against Black people in Africa. But you got Black people in the United States that don't like Black people from Jamaica. But even that, you got Black people in Kansas City, Missouri that don't like Black people from St. Louis, Missouri. It is self-hate driven by centuries of misinformation and anti-Black propaganda. That's where it comes from. So that's really the issue. To Black people's failure to actualize and act on the potential we have for power and unity with brothers and sisters on the African continent. Also, they're trying to push the Chinese out. If it was up to you, would you push them out? If it was up to me, I would not push the Chinese out. If it was up to me, I would. I think international trade, international exchange, and international relationships are good if they are mutually beneficial. So I would redefine the terms on which you interact with the Chinese. I would not. I'm not, xenophobe. Oh, keep all the foreigners out. That's kind of like the European way. So the problem is that African nations, before you can make deals and unify with other nations outside of Africa, you would need Pan-African unity. So the short answer is no. I don't think the Chinese have to be completely forced out, but I think the Africans have to define their terms. The Africans have to be given assurances, and the Africans have to be in control. It should be no different than if an African company or an African nation wanted to go into China, or when Canadian, a lot of the mining contracts in the United States are owned by Canadian companies. You find a lot of people that do environmental activism and they're fighting against these big companies. They find, and they try to sue, they find out those companies are chartered in Germany or chartered in Canadian. They're German and Canadian companies. And so if a Canadian or German company comes to the United States, they have to follow US regulations. They have to hire so many Europeans. They have to follow the wage laws, the safety laws, the environmental laws. So Africa needs to set labor standards. Africa needs to set ownership limits. Africa needs to set environmental limitations. And once Africa can set and enforce, they can do business with anyone. But that's the cart before the horse. So I think Africa should be striving for proper regulation of Africa's international relations, as opposed to striving for isolating and outing everyone from Africa. It's just not realistic, especially in a modern industrial society. I've been saying there's enough evidence to support both sides. There's not enough. If you have two contradictory conclusions, if one side says the vaccine should not be taken because it's dangerous and it doesn't work, and the other side says the vaccine could be taken because it does work, you can't say there's proof for both sides. Two opposite contradictory things can't be true at the same time. So I don't support the both sides thing. What I find a lot is the anti-vax people make absurd claims about the vaccine. What I'm always seeing is these people will make crazy claims about the vaccine. Like people will say, oh, the vaccine is supposed to cure COVID. That's no claim. Oh, the vaccine was supposed to end and stop everything. And then I go and look. Every time I see someone make a claim about the vaccine, that they claim they said this and it's not true, I don't find where they said it. So I don't think both sides of the vax have evidence. I think one side has paranoia, superstition, and outrage, and the other side has its own motivation. I think the profit motive is definitely there, which I oppose, but the science and the claims. But the CDC has been, in terms of its COVID policy, it's I forgot the name of this thing, but there's this thing that the side that the CDC has, as you look at their evolution of their policies, where they said don't wear a mask and do wear a mask. They said everybody quarantine. And then they said, no one, we can end the quarantine and end the mask because of the vaccine. Oh, now we're not going to re-implement the shutdown, but we need people to wear masks in public places. That they're evolving, because as new information comes in, as they implement policies and like, oh, this shit didn't work, you can tell that they're working off the evidence. But the one side that said, this is it, I'm never changing no matter what, that's generally the side that doesn't know what the fuck they're talking about. You know. Whereas the side that looks, oh, this side is weaker because this side, what is that? The fact? Let me look that up. What's that called? There's a phenomenon. I can't find it, and I just heard it earlier today. Where the no, I don't see it. Anyway, it was this effect, and I just heard it earlier today. Why was it? I don't know. Anyway, but the most self-assured side, you'll notice that if you listen to a true scientist being interviewed, they always say things like, we suspect, or the evidence indicates. They never say, this is what it is, this is what it isn't. Go and actually read the peer-reviewed articles, the science on issues related to the pandemic. You'll find that scientists do not like to speak in absolutes, because nobody never knows everything about everything. So a scientist will say, well, the evidence points to, or the So far, we have concluded, or up to this point, whereas the other people on the other side is like, this is what it is. We know it. And they're trying to do this. And this is why they're doing it. Woo, 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 woo. You know what I'm saying? So I just don't, on this, I don't agree with you, James. I don't believe that's kind of like when Trump was like, oh, you got the fascists and the anti-fascists. Oh, they're bad people on both sides. No, the anti-fascism is good. Fascism is bad. Ain't no both sides. It's kind of like that. Okay, Scotty. With the recent announcement of Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, and Kendrick Lamar performing at the Super Bowl, do you think that this is another way for the NFL and Jay-Z to undermine Colin Kaepernick? To be honest, I'm the worst person to ask about ball chasing because I don't watch no fucking games. I've been boycotting the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, soccer, and the Olympics. Fuck all professional ball chasing. And I'm not anti-sports. Go back to Kansas City and ask anybody that want to go with me, go up against me on State Line Road. That I used to play ball up there, run the court. We go to downstate. I used to run they student center, ran the court. I like playing basketball. I like sports. I like martial arts and even range combat simulation, paintball. I like doing physical athletic shit. I'm not anti-sports, but I fucking hate pro sports and I fucking hate college sports. But give me some communal grassroots sports. I love it. So I don't watch none of that shit. Never did. Long before. The shit is pure exploitation. But to speak to your point, it's not just Kaepernick. I don't think the NFL gives a fuck about Kaepernick. They never did. Kaepernick got his Nike contract. He did that Nike commercial. He got the bag. He's living good and didn't have to bust his body up to get the same amount of money. So Kaepernick's good. And I don't think the NFL sees Kaepernick as its problem. They don't have a Kaepernick problem. They have a PR problem. The problem is that the ownership of the NBA is white, right-wing conservative, whereas the players are black mostly and centrist, not left-wing, not progressive. Many of the players aren't even liberal. They're just centrist. And so the NFL made many missteps. You remember that guy? Are you ready for some football? Is that Hank Williams Jr.? I have to look this shit up. Yeah, Hank Williams Jr. So Hank Williams Jr. is a conservative, and then you got that other weird white boy in the hat who is also a conservative. And so you got football appeals to brothers from the hood, and it appeals to rednecks and white folks from rural America. So the NFL has got this delicate line. We got to please the patriotic right-wing white America, and we also got to please the hood in the streets. And we making billions of dollars. And you know the NFL is a not-for-profit organization. They don't pay no fucking taxes. And the NFL is bleeding cities. As much as all these white people love the NFL, look at where the teams are. They're in black cities. Kansas City Chiefs. I was born and raised in Kansas City. The hood. St. Louis, hood. Atlanta Falcons, hood. Oakland, hood. You don't have no Kansas. Tell me where the white folks are. Where's the NFL team in Kansas? I'll wait. Where's the NFL team for Iowa or Nebraska? Where are the NFL teams in this white America where NFL, you go to an NFL game, they got flags everywhere. They got the fucking U.S. Army jets, and they take a special day for the veterans. NFL is embedded in the hood with all these black players, and they got all these rednecks who love the football because they love the violence and the aggression and the patriotism. The NFL is in a weird PR spot. So they always find themselves catering to white folks. Oh, we're going to ban kneeling. We're going to ban black players from wearing Black Lives Matter. And if you say some political shit, we're going to fine you $20, $30, $40, $50,000. We're going to keep these boys in check. We're going to ban braids, or we're going to force them to wear suits and force them to speak at the press conferences. And the white boys get off on that. Yeah, you know, I own these. And the white boys love seeing the combine. The NFL combine and the brothers running and jumping for the white man. They love to see the press conferences where they're, well, I just want to thank God and I thank Jesus and oh Lord. They love seeing them big burly black men break their bodies for their pleasure. That's since plantation time. It's some weird shit. Go read a $40 million slave. So white boys get off on that. All that aggression and power. And then they love to see the white pristine quarterback and all the big burly black linemen. That shit just reaffirms a lot of their racial shit. But they need the cities, New Orleans, Miami. They need the cities to feed the NFL, and rural America dictates the politics. But when they lean too far to rural America and cater too far to white America, and then the black people are like, oh, we about to pull away. So it ain't cool no more. The swagger that we bring to it. And we start to assert our voices, and they're like, man, the players might get a little politicized, and the black fans get politicized. And so then now they lean back. So you're going to see they're going to do all this black. They got Eminem, but they got all this. They about to have a Negro show at the NFL. And they're going to be playing, they lift every voice and sing. After they told black people we couldn't kneel during the height of Black Lives Matter. During the height of Black Lives Matter, they wouldn't let the ball chasers make a statement or take a stance. And now, this shit is crazy. And now they was like, we're going to go full Negro. We're going to go blacker than black. Just like last time when they had all those sex scandals and all those black women and women in general were being assaulted and raped by NFL players and brutalized by their NFL husbands because they had swelling of the brain and couldn't think straight. And the NFL was covering it up for money. And then they had Beyonce come on there and Black Power, Black Panther. And then white folks got mad at that. So the NFL is engaged in, been doing this since before Kaepernick was drafted, let alone before he nailed. The NFL is making good money, but they're in a very precarious position. It's a delicate balance to play all these stupid people. And yes, I'm calling the black fans are stupid and the white fans are stupid. So you got all these stupid people paying attention, while the NFL real mission is to go to these cities and make the billionaires more money, to get poor, struggling cities. They got fucked up schools, fucked up sewage systems, fucked up air quality, but they got the flyest fucking stadium. You know, during Hurricane Katrina, the only place that was standing after the Katrina was the fucking stadium. And all the black people had to go run and lay on the foot of this stadium when all this money was spent on the stadium, when they should have been upgrading the levees and upgrading the floodplains. And so, very stupid. The NFL is picking the pockets of urban America, picking the pockets and breaking the bodies of black America, and catering to all the delusions of white America. So please don't think this is about Kaepernick. This happened long before Kaepernick, and it's going to go on long after Kaepernick until black men at least get some self-respect and dignity and stop chasing balls for these white folks. If you're going to chase ball, get together and do it for, by, and among black folks. You know, we had our own leagues before. Back during the height of Jim Crow, we managed to have our own damn league. And now, in this time when we's free, we can't get our own damn leagues. Not that I would watch that dumb shit either, but shit. Fuck pro sports. No self-respecting black man will watch pro or college sports. You know, go watch the kids in your neighborhood. Go give your time and energy. Go volunteer in your local little league shit. Fuck pro, fuck politics, because that's pure exploitation. That's pure plantation. It's madness. And this is coming from a man who never watched sports. So take it. I have to acknowledge that. I'm speaking pure speculation from an outside looking in. All right. Let's go. Take it easy. What would Dr. I don't know what he would say about what. I love Dr. Wright. Rest in peace, Dr. Wright. Okay, let's go. We're gonna have music again, but if people complain about the music, I'm gonna take it away for good. Can't nobody agree to nothing. I'm gonna put it on the lowest. And that's low. Get y'all in the mood again. Okay, we got the music back. This thing, why does it jump like this? Struggle ass computers. I'm using my son's old computer. I get his throwaway technology. But it acts funny sometimes. Oh, this ADOS is like the kid always sitting alone claiming they good with the popular kids across the room while they keep shitting on them and laughing. just so they can feel important. Yes, that's so true. ADOS is a nerd. If you're an ADOS, you're whack as hell. Don't stay away from me. I don't want no parts of it. I'm sick of bickering with ADOS people. Music is okay. So the music is back and it's low on the low. What haven't blacks created independent mass? Why? I assume you're asking, why haven't blacks created independent mass media platforms in America? We did, and we do. Radio 1, BET. The problem is, to create anything mass, you have to follow the rules of capitalism. So we have done that. But what often happens, and we got it, look at Tyler Perry is independent black mass media. We get confused and think we ain't got shit. We got shit, but it's just fucked up. It's bad quality because they have to follow the rules of capitalism. So anything we create under capitalism is going to harm us. We are winners and losers at the same time. We have created black independent media, but that black independent media end up doing the same thing to us as the white media does, degrade and exploit us. Right now, Tyler Perry got them studios down there. You think he's going to make revolutionary black liberating media? No, because he's a capitalist. It's not enough to be black. You should be asking, we need revolutionary pan-African media. Black don't mean shit no more. Black, it's not enough. It's inadequate. It's a good start, but if you starting in with black, you fucked. So if I, Bro.Diallo, say, listen, I don't get enough mass appeal. I sit here and pour my heart out. I read all these goddamn books. I write all these goddamn notes. I'm sitting in all this paper and trying to give the best media possible to my community for a very limited return, where I have to reach in my own pocket and subsidize my own efforts, while I literally look over my shoulder and see people literally drooling and looking like some goddamn fools and getting all this exposure. You know, fucking Dr. Umar will show his filthy house and get more views than any level of analysis I could offer. But hey, you know, I ain't salty. I'm hating, but I'm an unashamed hater. You can't shame me by calling me a hater. I embrace that. But if I wanted to say, hey, I got to level up, I'm sick of sitting in this little home office with this donated camera, this donated microphone, and this donated little computer. I'm sick of this and this software I barely pay for every month. I want to level up. I want to get up with it. Then I got to start talking the way that has mass appeal. Like you said, the key word is mass media. I got to start fucking getting celebrities on here and catering to the celebrities so I can get Kanye or Common to come on and just start to, you know, get Chappelle, like, and get these establishment Negroes. I can still play pro-black. I can still be like, yeah, you know, we doing something positive, blah, 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 like a lot of these fake positive people, and just start engaging in established business practices. But what I would have, first thing I have to do is say, you know, fuck the interest of African people. Fuck the truth, really. And what are the standard business practices of successful media? And then I become, go from Bro.Diallo to Diallo the God and get on here and say slick shit and whatever it takes to get views, whatever it takes to get sponsorships and shit of that level. So we have it. We've had it in the past. It always degrades. We need revolutionary media. Black media is inadequate to serve our interests. Black media is going to serve the media moguls. Bad Boy Records is a media. I mean, doesn't Jay-Z have his own streaming service? You know, we got plenty of fucking black media, but it's saying worse shit. In fact, the black media is doing shit that even the white media would never do in terms of degrading African people. You know, it's like Precious, that movie Precious. That was all black folks, black director, black writer, black screen, black cast. That was black as fuck. You see the new Coming to America Part 2, that fucking horrible movie. Had some black icons and a black studio and black writers and black everything. Black cameramen, black carpenters, black electricians. And that shit was fucking horrible and degrading. It was much worse than the first one. And the first one was produced by 2 white dudes. I mean, just go look at Coming to America and Coming to America 2 and look at the quality between the white version and the black version. And both of them are whack movies in terms of messaging. But at least the jokes were funny in the first one. At least we had something to laugh at as we were being degraded. So careful what you wish for. We got plenty of black media. It just don't feel like it's black because it's just as degrading as the white media. So that's like you asking me, when we gonna get a black president? We got one, and you see we're in the same spot. We need revolution. We don't just need black versions of white shit. Black people are dying, especially in Chicago. We need fiat. Okay, go get it then. You can't die without fiat. That's the thing about fiat. We were richer than the people who enslaved us. Black people didn't have wealth. Wealth does not protect you. How many more Black Wall Streets you gonna have to go through before you figure like, damn, money ain't it? The Jews in Germany had more money than the fucking average German. There's such a good movie that shows what money will do for you. This movie right here. This movie will show you about what having the bag will do for you. Oh, wait, why'd it go to that? My son gave me this computer probably after it jacked up. I don't know what I'm doing. Let me show y'all something. Go watch every one of you Negroes who think that the fiat is going to save us. Who think that the white man's going to be like, I was going to kill them all, but now they got all this money. I can't kill them. Like, yeah, oh no, like the fucking oppressor wants to do some genocide, and you think, oh no, my credit score is 750. Oh, then okay, we won't put you in the gas chamber. I'm trying to get a good, but whatever. Let's see, maybe I can have the trailer. Let's see. Every black person that thinks that fiat is going to save African people, first of all, you got to realize that African people were wealthier when we got slaves. This movie right here is called Schindler's List. This is Schindler's List. Oh, they re-releasing it from 25 years old. But you see these people right here. They show it in the thing. You see these Jews right here? You see? Wait, let me go back. Look at it. Somebody come look at that. I'm trying to pause it. Oh, right there. You see that woman? This is the scene in the movie where they went into the wealthy districts. And this woman is a Jewish woman in a fur coat and gold. And that's her husband. Now, in the scene, I'm going to spoil the movie for you. When the Germans were coming to kick them out of their luxury home, they were putting gold bars in the lining of their fur coat. Did you see that little girl yelling? God damn. Sorry, y'all. I know. Bear with me. This little girl is a Polish girl. She's a peasant. She's a poor white trash. And those other people were wealthy Jews. And she wasn't German. So she's yelling and spitting on this wealthy woman, this poor German, but the young German girl was classified as Aryan. And so she's yelling. So y'all go see this movie. Because the Jews were very wealthy. They had mad loot. And when they got to they let them collect all their wealth. See, this was the hustle. They let the Jewish people collect all their money and gold and all their bonds and shit and stuff it in there. And they let them march to the cattle cars with all their fucking fiat. And when they got to the cattle car, they were like, break yourself. You did us a favor. And outside the train was all this gold and money and silver and those are the pictures. All this wealth lined up at the rail station. And then they showed in this movie, the German officers were brought in to the wealthy mansions in the nice wealthy neighborhoods. That's Oscar Schindler. They were brought into this wealthy neighborhood and said, pick your house, pick your mansion, which one you want. And they showed the German men walk into the mansion of the white man and take down all the Jewish artwork and take down all the Jewish religious symbol. And they just snatched it all down. The Jews were very wealthy and well off when the Nazis came to power. They were fully integrated into Nazi society. They were equal citizens. That's why Hitler had to go through and purge the universities, because they were all professors. They were educated. They had fiat. And we already see the United States already has its street mobs. The Nazi party started off as Proud Boys. Go study the history. So we still got black folks who think, now, this is propaganda. The movie is propaganda. I know. But there are some historical accuracies in this shit. And the historical accuracies was that all the money that the Jews had accumulated, all the integration, all the education that the Jews had assimilated, because, and the German Jews were some of the most anti-Jewish Jews, like anti-black blacks. Germans had a version of ADOS because the German Jews were like, we're secular, we're integrated. Because all over Europe, France, Spain, the Jews wanted to remain separate from the other European Christians or the European Goyim. Whereas in Germany, it was like, no, we're not going to separate and just be Jewish. Our German identity supersedes our Jewish identity. So yeah, we dying, and you thinking fiat gonna save us. When look at life expectancy overall for black people. And how many black celebrities who secured the bag we see dying in their 40s and 30s? How many times you gonna log on to social media and see people RIP to some black celebrity who had the bag, who had the riches? Our life expectancy is still reduced. You think if tomorrow Dr. Dre's money gonna save him if the country goes left? Okay, black, good luck with that, man. I ain't saying don't get the money. I'm saying don't misinterpret what money can and can't do for you. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying if you have the know-how and the capacity to go get $1 million, go do it without compromising your values and harming other black people. Go get the money. If I knew it, I'd do it too. But I would never be under the illusion that having all that fiat in the bank, and you don't even get the cash. You don't. At least the Jews had the gold bars in their home. That shit's in a bank. They ain't even got to come and kick in your door to take your shit. They push a key, they push a button on a keyboard, and you see all over the fucking world. The King of Jordan has his assets frozen. They froze Muammar Gaddafi had billions of dollars, and he couldn't even flee his own country because they froze his assets. But then again, y'all got to be honest. Y'all not talking about getting money to protect black lives. Y'all not talking about getting money to empower black people. You're talking about money to enjoy the comfort. So you're like, what you really think, oh, we need to get this money. You're not thinking about the money to oppose the system. You want the money to enjoy the spoils of empire. So I don't even know why I had this discussion, but good luck with that, man. And if you do get the bag, join my Patreon and help me sustain. Let's recenter. Do you think reparation organizations like Cobra made a mistake by not getting more involved online, leaving the door open to groups like ADOS to exploit the cause of reparations by using nativism? Yes. But if you ever go to any Cobra meetings, the youngest people in most of those meetings were in their 50s. I started going to Cobra meetings I joined the National Black United Front, started working with the National Black United Front at 14, 15, and the average age in the MBUF was probably about 30 or 40, and that's back in the 90s. And so, everybody that I knew that had a position, in fact, Bill Grace wanted me to take over his position in Cobra, but I don't think Cobra liked my stance, because my stance on reparations is you have to, before you ask a oppressor to give you something, you have to have your contingency. So we're going to make this request. And if you make this request, these are the rewards if you grant the request, and these are the consequences. And I'm like, we are making a moral appeal to an immoral system. So we can't make a moral appeal. We have to make a material appeal. We have to say to the United States, give African people reparations, or boom, boom, boom. And I said, what does the United States do when it makes a request of another nation and they fail? They sanction, they embargo, they cut diplomatic ties. And there are ways for black people as a collective to do that. But before we can come with sanctions against the United States for its failure to meet its reparation obligation to us, we have to do more internal organizing. And what they generally do is say, well, Cobra will go and say, well, these were the injustices we suffered. These were how the state and various companies and industries have profited from the injustice. And this is what we calculate is owed to us. It's not enough. You got to make an emotional, ideological, and even this is going to sound weird, spiritual appeal. And when I say spirit, it's less in terms of supernatural phenomenon and in terms of identity and motivation, like team spirit, go team, go. You got to get people excited and connected. So in one way, they were a little too, first of all, it's absurd to make a moral appeal. And we thought, well, if we can lay out to the United States and to the world community and to the international and diplomatic community the wrongs and how we were worthy of reparations. No group ever got reparations because they were worthy of it. That's not how power works. So yeah, that was one of many mistakes that I think N'Cobra made and continues to make. You need liberation and power, yes. Do you currently unite with or support any grassroots organizations on the ground here in the U.S.? Other than I think you mean the AWC. I'm just going to say no, for various reasons. If you name the organization, but here in the U.S., I have to say no. And I'm not. That's not an indictment of Well, that's not even true. It's not true. I am in dialogue with some organizations. I do, but. And just to answer your question, not at the time. And I have reasons. I probably need to talk about that. But I have my reasons. But not to say that they don't exist. I think that they are. But no, I'm not currently. I mean, I'm saying that because I'm not currently a member of any of those organizations. So I'll just say no. How do you get that without fiat? You have to specify what that is. Black. What is your stance on the stigma of single parenthood? I reject it. I think there should be no shame in this so-called stigma of single parenthood, and I also think that single parenthood is a myth. I'm the generation of two. I'm the product of two generations of single parenthood. My mother was a single mother with 3 children. She began to struggle with, she was managing self-medicating for trauma she endured with drugs, illicit drugs, and she just got too deep in the drug addiction. So by the time I was in early adolescence, my mom actually just wasn't in a position to take care of us due to her condition. So I was adopted by my grandmother, who was also a single mother, and she raised 6 kids on her own and then raised 3 grandkids, me, my brother, and my sister. So I'm a product of 2 generations of single parenthood. And so I am a supporter, advocate, and lover of single parents, whether it's a single father or single mother. But what I have observed, I lived in a housing project where 96% of the households in that housing project were single mother households. In fact, you had to essentially be a single parent to be eligible to live in that housing project because of the HUD and Section 8 restrictions. So anyway, there were a couple of families, but very few, hundreds and hundreds of units, and I could count the 2-parent households on one hand. But what I had discovered is that whole single parent, even I've been with my wife, we've been together 21 years and our oldest son is 19. So we've been together for quite some time. There's no such thing as single or even 2-parent households. We're under the falsehood that because it takes 2 individuals to procreate, we believe that then that's sufficient to cultivate or to raise up a child. But humans, being the primates, the communal primates, raising of children is always a communal endeavor. And I see people love to spout those statistics about, single parent, the majority of people incarcerated come out of single parent homes, and majority homicides, single parent homes. But that's not about, that's the fallacy of causation and correlation. The problem is, because of the structure of the U.S. economy, if you are a single parent, you're more likely to live in poverty. If you're more likely to live in poverty, you're more likely to be under-resourced in areas of education and areas of nutrition and other things. So because of the failure of societal support and stigma, as you said, it leads to these other negative outcomes. And instead of evaluating the system and the failures of the system, it's easier to point to individuals. So I don't really even believe in the single parent or even 2-parent household. I believe in the communal family. I support communal family. Even though I had legally 1 mother and then I was raised by 1 grandmother, I had 5 uncles who all participated in various, 3 of my 5 uncles participated in raising me and mentoring me. I had older men in my great grandfather, and certain educators that I had that took special interest and gave extra inputs. I had some employers and program directors. So my raising and my cultivation came from a communal collective effort. And because I came out of a single parent household, I had some, especially men in the community, that even made extra effort to make sure that I was disciplined, guided, instructed, motivated, even more so. So I think if you are, which my grandmother consciously did in her own way. Like my grandmother was like, she had 5 sons, and then she raised 5 sons, and then she had 2 more grandsons that she raised, me and my brother. And she would take us to church and would try to get us with the deacons and the people in church. And she would encourage us to get into sports so that coaching, and we could be coached and mentored and given structure. So she made a conscious effort. So I think single parents should make a conscious effort to build a community. There was a community built up around us. And I've seen several people, they might not end up in jail, but they're broken people, where you have 2 parents who are isolated people. They could be very wealthy, but the children have no connection to a larger community. Their identity is fucking for shit, you know? So I think even when my son, even though I been partnered with my wife in building our home and our family, we've always consciously kept progressive, conscious, revolutionary African people integrated into our family, from dinners and events and taking them to cultural events. And my sons have uncles and elders that look out for them. You know, my son will go out in the street, and then I walk out and I see a brother, and he'd be like, "Oh, I saw your son. He was over here." And and my son, he goes places, and people rap with him and look out for him. And there's several young men in my community that if I see them out in trouble, I'm going to intervene, or I'm going to tell, "Hey, I saw your boy downtown." That's community. That's how I came up. And that's what we're losing with this whole trying to mimic the nuclear family. You know, we're getting to the point where you see some black person in trouble, you close your shutters. That's a Western concept. That's not an African concept. Every elder was an uncle or an auntie, whether they were blood relatives or not. So I think single parenthood, trying to shame single parenthood and pushing this whole 2-parent shit, it's just both of them are mimicking European concepts. We need to go beyond the single and 2-parent household and raise up children in communities, and the communal family and the multi-generational family, and where it's every child, it takes a village. That was our way. It didn't take a single parent, it didn't take a 2-parent. So even if you're not married to the spouse or the father or mother of your children, you can build up a positive community around your child, regardless of your personal marital status. And that's what my grandmother did. And that's what I see some doing it. So, and that's what my wife and I did, even though my sons came up in a 2-parent household. I wouldn't even define them coming up as in a 2-parent household. They came up in a communal family, you know. So, but I don't think it should be stigmatized anyway. And most of the stigma comes from people mimicking and idealizing the European nuclear family structure, which I reject as well. Revolution indeed. We need fiat as a tool to go. Okay. Yes. Wonderful. Okay. This dude is obsessed. Why are you on my feed? Get out there and get that money, dude. Plans require fiat. No, I can sit here and make a plan. I ain't got a dime in my pocket. I can sit here and make plans. Plans don't require fiat. Sorry. That's a myth. They got a fiat debate going on in the comments. I appreciate and love you back, James. And again, congratulations on that grandbaby. I hope not to follow you soon. I hope I got another decade before I reach that granddad status at least. I'm too young and pretty to be somebody's granddaddy. I think people are questioning COVID-19 because it's prospective new Black Panther, and the smartest person in the movie said the vaccines are questionable. So new Black Panthers, oh God, are they still around? Lord. Yeah, the Nation of Islam. Yeah, black people, man. Fuck around and find out, black folks. Keep playing. COVID ain't playing with us. Oh, God, I'm going to have to go on and let Black do his thing. Carl, oh, we got a question. Oh, and I'm past time anyway. After the U.S. defeat of Afghanistan, do you think the military will attack smaller nations to regain prestige like it was after the Vietnam instead of a hot war with China? Well, see, this is the weird thing. The United States is already attacking smaller nations. You know, they're already doing color revolutions. They staged at least 2 coups d'etats in Venezuela. You got Haiti. They did a coup d'etat in Honduras. So the United States is already doing that. So they would maybe in clandestine shit. So I don't think that the U.S. feels that it has lost prestige in Afghanistan, though. So I think they played it a little different. And so I don't think they will do it. I do think that the United States is going to reorient itself. What I think the U.S. is going to do after Afghanistan is to bolster AFRICOM and expand and entrench AFRICOM, because there was literally a Pentagon report, I should have printed it off, that stated for every dollar spent in Afghanistan, they get like $1,000 worth of returns. That every dollar they spend in Afghanistan is a loss, whereas every dollar they spend in Africa returns $17 to $20 in terms of resources and power and influence. So they're going to, I think the ultimate thing that they're going to do with the resources that were squandered in Afghanistan is retool them to AFRICOM. But they're also going to have more time. They got time today where there is what is called a Pinko revolution, where the Latin American left. So I think you are going to see more violence and instability in Latin America. I think the United States is going to start pushing that whole narco-terrorism thing so that they can use the resources and allotments given to them through the war on terror. They're not going to let that subside because that's too much money. But many of the Latin American things are going to be done with color revolutions. It's going to be done through funding death squads like they did back in the 70s, and indirect attacks. I don't think they're going to have official U.S. military occupation of a Latin American country. I could be wrong, but what they're going to do is try to stem the tide of left-wing governments, because, you know, and they had a right-wing fascist in Brazil, which increased the popularity and people's desire for the left-wing parties in Brazil. Colombia is like, in Argentina are white, but all the other countries surrounding that, Bolivia is going back leftist, and so they're going to stem the leftist tide in Latin America, and they're going to entrench AFRICOM. And you see what they're doing in Australia, where they're selling nuclear submarines to Australia in order to further encapsulate China. So they are preparing for a war with China, but we'll see. You know, this cracker is crazy. You know, and I always say, white folks aren't interested in doing the wrong thing. They want to do the worst thing. So, but I just don't see that as it. I think the worst outcome of I think it's good that the Afghan war is ended, but the Afghan war isn't over, because they still got military contractors and they're still doing drone surveillance and drone bombings. So a lot of the atrocities will continue, but the media will completely stop paying attention now. It's fucking ridiculous. In the empire. All right. I agree with clarification on my statement for sure on corrupt science. The science is corrupted. It's the apparatus around it. Thank you, Tempest. I agree with that. Amos Wilson said science isn't neutral either. No, science isn't neutral, but the method is consistent. You're either doing science or you aren't. You know, I didn't say science is neutral, because if I'm allocating money towards, you know, water purification and engineering a society versus weapons, you know, and the science of killing masses of people, that's not neutral, but you're still going to have to employ the scientific method or you're not. I don't think I ever said it was neutral. I just said, you know, we blame science for a lot of shit that science ain't got shit to do with. I think that's what I said. What effect interpersonal strategies to introducing Pan-African revolutionary ideology to Black folks, indoctrinated in Americanism, individualism, consumerism, religiosity, and self-defeatism, etc. I think the most effective way is I think the first thing we have to do, because you'll have a community with maybe 1,000 Black people, and of that 1,000, there's just 5 conscious Pan-Africanist Black people. And those 5 conscious Pan-African Black people will just go amongst all those other Black people to try to convince them to wake up. If those 5, the best way to do it is for we who are conscious to come together and consolidate and pool our resources and start to live and give physical representation of what Pan-Africanism can do in a person's personal life. I think giving concrete examples of applied Pan-African principles, communal businesses, health, wellness, cultivation of the land, communal property. If somebody comes through and be like, man, in my city, all the African-centered people are well taken care of. If they got a problem, whether it's a problem with the city or they just they bought a flat screen and they need a flat, or a sister got a plumbing problem, she need her basement. Whenever I see it's the Pan-African people that come together and handle their shit internally. When I see that. And so that's what will attract people more than telling them about our ideas, our rhetoric, our strategy. Our vision is to see us living out Pan-Africanism in an interpersonal way. That's the best way to do it. Which ain't easy, I admit. Yes? Okay, I'm wrapping up. Let's see if we can find one more short question. I really appreciate y'all. This is a good one. Compt J, this is the last question of the night. ADOS is bad, yes, but reparations can be a good thing. Absolutely, reparations can be a good or bad thing. It really depends on how it is disseminated. Many times, reparations could be the oppressor trying to coerce or manipulate the masses. So what really needs to be done, in terms of reparation is, because a lot of things people like, we're going to give free college tuition to Black folks, so we can turn out more Obamas and Clarence Thomases. So yeah, it could be good or bad. It's a double-edged sword, reparations. Like your boy Fiat. At least we can stop these arguments about whether or not Fiat will free us. It'll end that debate, because I think y'all see pretty fast that Fiat ain't freedom. And then these crackers could give us all $1 trillion each and then collapse their own currency and go into crypto. It's a lot of things. Native Americans have received a lot of reparations and treaties and stuff. So it depends on how we execute. If we just use that reparations money to invest in the stock market or to pay tuition at white colleges and it goes right back into the white man's pockets, or we use it to speculate, or we use it to buy up the block, and then we just all become slumlords of each other. It's a lot of ways it can go wrong. It's a lot of ways it can go right. I support reparations. We are worthy of reparations. I'm willing to organize for reparations, but I don't think that our liberation should be rest or fully dependent on reparations, because anything that our oppressor can deny or grant us should not be central to our liberation. And I have to leave it at that. We can talk more about reparations. You can go to my YouTube and look up my presentations on reparations. I've talked about reparations and reparations versus prosperity politics, because a lot of prosperity politics and reparations are two different things. Reparations means it's not money. Reparation literally means to restore people back to the status that they were at prior to the offense or atrocity. So there is no reparations without Pan-Africanism. There is no reparation of African people. There is no repairing of African Americans without reconnecting us to the African continent materially and culturally. So anybody that's they're not repairing us, they're trying to get a payout. Reparations and payout are not the same thing. Prosperity politics and reparations are two different things. I'll leave it at that. Oh, you see scrolling across the screen, you'll see where you can support the Bro.Diallo broadcast. I appreciate everyone supporting. You can become a Patreon supporter, or you can Cash App, Venmo. If you don't have the means to monetarily support the Bro.Diallo broadcast, please like, share, subscribe this with your friends, allies, enemies, lovers, and haters to help get the word out. I'm sorry about the questions I was unable to get to. I still appreciate. Please return. We do this on Wednesday evenings, so please return, and I hopefully will get to your questions in the next presentation. Thank you to everyone, and good night.